Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 651, recorded live on Saturday, September 25th. I'm your host, Patrick. Joining me this week, we have Arkat.
Happy Saturday, everybody.
Yeah. A lovely fall Saturday, at least for both of us.
Yes.
Got sun's out, not too cool yet, not too crazy hot yet. All very lovely. And then we also have Vooduspyce.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, fresh off your own stream.
Yeah.
And bringing along all of those folks as well. Hello, welcome to Voodoo's streaming friends. Joining us live. This week's screenshot, Pompilius looks at the beauty of Sharn in the 525th DDO screenshot of the week. That's a really nice shot of Sharn, I think. Really good perspective. I like that. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOCast.com. DDOCast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be next week, and you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOCast.com, with our calendar. And I know last week I said there would be a show last weekend. I didn't end up doing a traditional show because they did the early content, or the content creator early preview thing. So I hopped on Lemania and live streamed going through the Epic Destinies there for a couple hours. So I didn't do a live show. That was the show last week. That's why there wasn't one in your podcast feed or anything like that. But if you want to go see those, I have been posting those videos broken out by tree about once a day this week. So I think at this point there's like about half of them on our YouTube page, so you can go check those out. If you want to get a more detailed version of what's in these Epic Destiny trees and that kind of thing, I went through them line by line, that kind of stuff. We're not going to do that today, but we are going to talk about them. So if you're looking for a line by line version of things, that's where you can find it. At least from me, I think Voodoo, you probably did some stuff like that. I think Samus did some. Axel, there were a whole bunch of people who were posting videos about.
Yeah, Axel went through them just like you did, PJ.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options there, which you can look all sorts of places here. The Chronicle from this week had a bunch of posts for some of that stuff. So if you're looking for, you didn't get a chance to go on Lemania, or you don't want to just read walls of text, you want to just listen to someone tell you about it and kind of give their hot take reactions. Lots of options, including us. So there you go. On the podcast this week, because we didn't do a traditional show, we got a little extra community news. And then today we're going to be talking about Update 51 Preview 1. So that's kind of where we're going to jump right into, Update 51 Preview 1. We will note briefly here that they're doing some, shall we say, creative counting?
I was going to say, isn't this really Preview 2?
That's what I thought going into it, and I actually had the first video I posted was Shadow Dancer, and I actually had it listed as Preview 2.
Mm-hmm.
So officially, from Standing Stone Games' perspective, the preview we got earlier is the Update 50 is the Epic Destiny early preview.
Oh, for Christ's
and this
sake.
is Preview 1.
You got it.
So
that threw me off too.
Whatever. It's counting numbers. I don't like. How do they
No
determine
wonder
what's a
they have
patch and a
problems.
hotfix?
They can't even count. Jeez.
Although, hey, I feel like we did give enough justice to the fact that we've had 50 updates to DDO, and that's just since we went free to play.
We've had more modules before that. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's pretty cool if you think about the longevity of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So update 51. Let's kind of jump into some of the stuff here. So there was a preview. Preview 1 was this week. I think they even asterisked it in their release notes to kind of highlight this weird fact. It was open this week. there was a content creator early access for content creators. So that's what Voodoo and I were doing on Monday, which is a new thing. They did that on Lotro, on their last update, and it went over really well. And it seems, I think, to have gone really positively for DDO. So I imagine that's something they'll keep doing, kind of generate some buzz and kind of give content creators like myself and Voodoo and all the other folks kind of an early access window to kind of highlight some stuff like that. So that was really cool. This preview contains the following features. Epic Destinies. Can we just say Epic Destinies? Less a couple. We got more than we
probably
thought.
The lion's share, yeah.
We had 9, I think, right?
9 Epic Destinies, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so
we did
that
not
sounds
get
right.
Fate Singer. We did not get Exalted Angel, and we did not get the new Magister tree.
Magus of the Eclipse.
Yeah, that one. Magus of
Whatever
the Eclipse.
Whatever the heck that means, Magus of the Eclipse.
It's supposed to be kind of like a negative debuffy kind of tree, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure
like
it is, but I'm not getting that from the name Magus of the Eclipse.
Sure. We'll see what comes out, right?
Right.
But so they have we are just going to, in our official show notes, we're just going to link to kind of the main thread here. I'm not going to link out to each of the different threads this time, because there's a lot of them with the Epic Destinies. But you can get through them through this tree. They have links in the first part of it. So before we get into kind of the trees and stuff, kind of the generic release notes, kind of the miscellaneous stuff. We might skip a couple of these, but several spell-like abilities in the Favored Soul and Eldritch Knight trees now properly enforce their global cooldown. I'm not sure which abilities those are or what that's going to mean from a playing perspective, but
I have no idea.
Yeah, right? It's a little vague on the vagueness. Creeping Doom and Enveloping Swarm are now internally typed as acid spells. I'm guessing that's going to make Voodoo happy.
Creeping Doom is an acid spell right now. So
what does it mean that it's internally typed as acid? Maybe it just means that they'll get acid spell power?
Maybe
they're not
was
doing it now?
broken behind the scenes. Because
Yeah.
it used to be a poison spell years ago.
Yeah. Do you find yourself using those? You play a caster do it a lot more than any of us.
Yeah. Creeping Doom is amazing.
Okay. Vishtani's Deadly Blades no longer sticks around far longer than it should. I believe, is that the Blade Barrier thing? No, that's in Feydark. I don't remember what that one does, actually. Let's see. That might be a buff. Maybe that's what it is. Spells. Several changes and optimizations have been made to spells that can affect multiple targets. This should resolve several issues with AoE spells connecting while impacting with shallow water, as well as having a much better time making contact through uneven terrain. More contact. That's what I'm getting out of that. That sounds good.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We like more contact. When I throw a fireball at a pile of mobs, I like it when it hits as many of them as it possibly can.
Or at least as it should. Yeah.
Right. Sovereign Lightning Strike now definitely works 100% of the time. Boy, I hope someone knocked on wood when they wrote that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably shouldn't say 100% of the time. Should have qualified just a little bit, like saying, like, as far as we know, Sovereign Lightning now definitely, now works 100% of the time. They're going to, if it doesn't work once or from one item, they are going to get their butts reamed, I tell you.
I think is Linabelle being a little cheeky. And like it hasn't been working, and now he's really confident it's gonna work. But yeah. I just thought it was kind of funny. Random loot and crafted items now have the correct weapon damage set. I'm pretty sure that's the plus W, right? That's referring to.
Right, exactly. Yeah, some of the created items weren't getting their, if they're at a certain level, they didn't get their 2W. They were stuck at 1.5W or whatever it was.
Right. Let's see. A variety of heroic Red Fens items now have correct stats and set bonuses. Cool.
Good.
The Truthful Blow set now provides the correct amount of fortification bypass. Mantle of Sulamati's now provides the correct amount of double strike.
Yeah, that was supposed to be providing 15% artifact double strike, but instead was only providing 10%.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around.
No,
It went up? Okay, that's cool.
they put it back to where it was supposed, where it said it was.
A variety of weapons now have the corrected material typing and the durability window. Epic Flame Ward can now be restored at the Legacy Altar of Epic Rituals. That's the UMD stick out of Web of Chaos. That's I think, right? Let's see. Several more options for the Gem of Many Facets have been added.
What does that mean?
Yeah, can you
yeah.
go over that?
I can. I do know what this is about. And this is disingenuous is the wrong word. So my understanding of what was going on here was the Gem of Many Facets supposed to be able to be like any of the sets. Like you can put a bunch of different set bonuses on it from any of the Scroll Seal Shard packs. We need a new way. We need a new catch-all name for those. But anyways, there were some that it wouldn't do, that it didn't connect with. So people were trying to re-roll the Gem of Many Facets to get a set bonus that it was not coded to take.
Oh man.
That's why I said it's a
and
little.
those rerolls cost what, 15 shards or something?
Was
it more?
I thought it was like 100 threads.
Free for the epic.
It's free for epic?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not for the legendary or something like that.
Sure.
Okay.
I haven't played around with the gem very much, but that's what was going on there. There were some, I think, from the Vault of Night sets that weren't landing on Gem of Many Facets. And I know there were a couple people, at least in our guild, Arkat, that did spend some threads trying to get those sets.
Right.
And it wasn't even possible.
Right.
So that's what that note is about.
Okay.
Fixed typos in certain standalone distant diversion effects. Distant diversion is threat reduction for ranged. And I think spells? Ooh, I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember if it's spells or not. Let's see. Mind and Matter set bonus now provides its listed MRR cap, which is good because that went up by like 10 or 15, I think. Death Ward now properly protects you from everything that Death Block does, and there was much rejoicing.
I didn't realize there was a discrepancy there.
Oh yes. I'm surprised you did not notice this, Voodoo, as a tank. So there are many death effects that cause death. So Finger of Death, right? Prismatic Spray could kill you. The death block from various sources was better at preventing certain things than others.
Interesting.
So, I know what Zolkish in Project Nemesis has an instant death effect on his Prismatic Spray. And some things that would block Finger of Death would not block that. So I believe that's what's being fixed here.
I wouldn't have noticed because I always follow one of Uncle Voodoo's most important tips is that even when you can cast Death Ward, you should still have Death Block as a backup. You can augment that to level 12 because there's always going to be those times when, your Death Ward gets dispelled or it runs out, you didn't realize it, and you want to have that Death Block as a backup.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there was, it wasn't just that, it was like armor, like there's certain places where like armor would get Death Block. So from like the Unyielding Sentinel, or that's I think an option in the Nature Protector tree. When you're raging, you get Death Block and stuff like that. And there was, I don't know 100% of all the details, but I know Benton, who's been on the show before, when they were kind of pushing the envelope on those raids, was finding that the death block I'm getting from raging from Druid is not actually stopping that. I need to put a death block augment in or cast Death Ward and stuff like that. So I think this note is saying that should all be normalized. Death block should be Death Ward, should be Death block, should be Death block.
Sure.
Fingers crossed.
Hey, PJ, can we
Mhm.
take a step back a couple of items real quick?
Yes, sir.
The several scaling alignment-based burst effects now properly change the base alignment of the weapon
Oh,
they're
missed
on. They mean that literally if it's only on the weapon. So, for example, Titania's Glory, so it's a Fate Twisted helm, and you get in obviously in the Fate, the Fate, the Feywild. It's got a Holy Burst effect on it, and just like I think one of the trinkets in the Strahd raid also has a Holy Burst effect on it.
There's also the TOD rings from monks of old.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Does that actually only change if you had it on a weapon? So if you had Holy Burst on a weapon, does it only make the weapon holy, or if you have one of these other items, that's not a weapon, does it make your weapon bypass good, or rather damage reduction?
It sounds like that should be included. I don't know. I don't have any information on that note in particular. I hope so, because I think they broke that with the TOD rings that I mentioned a while back. So yeah, I don't know if this is referring to those things that put that on your weapon from a separate source, or if that's like, hey, this weapon has chaos damage on it and it wasn't bypassing chaos.
Right.
DR. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Threads of Fate are now a little more eye-catching visually. Cool. New copies of Precision Lenses from White Plume Mountain now have the correct version of Manslayer.
I didn't know there was more than one version. What is this about?
I assume the legendary version has a higher version of Manslayer, but that they can't retroactively apply it.
I get that, but I just didn't. It was the fact that it said it's the correct version, like as in like, duh, there's more than one version. Didn't you know that? No, as far as I could tell, Manslayers was the same thing, no matter on how high level the item was.
I cannot think off the top of my head an item that has a different version of Manslayer.
Yeah. Okay.
Dripping with Magma now applies on ranged attacks and harmful spells.
Yeah. Okay.
That's from the Red Dragon armor, the
Yep.
legendary Red Dragon armor.
Yep.
I do like that they noted that it's harmful spell casts, because wearing that and healing someone would be comical if you could apply dripping magma to them. But Void.
I don't like this. I don't like this change.
Really?
They should have, what they should have done is they should have just left it on the weapons and taken it off the armor. Or if they were going to leave it on the armor, they should have just taken it off on the armor.
So you wouldn't have it at all, or even for melee?
Well, I would, if I had the great axe or the hand axe that has dripping with magma on it, I would still have it, and it would be useful, for melee attacks. Unfortunately, I think what they're gonna see is now that it's on a harmful spell cast. So, for example, if you're a Sork and you're wearing, the Red Dragon armor, and now you can a Sork can fairly easily bypass any fire, because this does, it goes off often. I don't know, maybe half the time or 2/3 of the time it goes off. The effect goes off, and the amount of fire damage it does is pretty significant. I mean, it's actually, some people call it OP, and I never thought it was particularly OP, because there are just too many monsters in the game that are not that they're immune to fire. So like all the demons and all the devils and all the other things that have fire immunity, or at least some high degree of resistance. I didn't think it was a big deal, because fire is the most resisted element in the game. So, is it really that OP? Well, now if you're a Sork or a Tiefling or something, and you now have a way to bypass fire immunity. Well, this effect is now going to be very overpowered, and they're going to wind up having to nerf it into the ground because
It'll be too available.
Exactly, and
Okay.
people, and this is what people are going to do. The melee types are going to wear the armor, right? Because they'll get the dripping with magma effect, and then they'll use Baz Morath, the big giant great axe, instead of being forced to use, if they wanted the effect, instead of being forced to use the Fey Twisted version of the hand axe. So I think this is a dumb idea, and I also think it's I mean, I guess we could argue about whether it's good to put it on missile weapons or not. I'm kind of against it because it's going to do a lot of damage, with a lot of double shot and all that sort of stuff. Actually, not double shot because they don't do that anymore. But I think it's they're just going to make it way too available, like you said, and they're going to make it available to classes that will have ways to and destinies, I guess, that will have ways to completely bypass fire immunity. So I think it was a mistake not to put it on the armor and not to just have it on melee weapons.
I don't know if I super buy into the stripping immunity argument, because you can have that in a party anyways, like other people in the party, and that can have some fun.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you were a
commons, but
tiefling, you could use Scorch, right? You didn't have to be a caster.
we would just bring someone
Um,
along with you, right?
How many people are
But
you going to bring along for, a tiefling just for Scorch? Is that really going to be a thing?
well, I mean, if you're trying to like maximize raid DPS, and you could bring like a DC Sork that can strip fire immunity or something like that, right? Like, is another thing. So you can
Right.
build into that and have some really fun kind of conversations about what your class makeup is going to be in kind of those situations. And I think that actually makes that a more interesting thing to do. However, your point about like it being too good and too now widely available, I think it's something to keep an eye on. Let's see how, if everyone's suddenly running around with this thing and it's doing an insane amount of damage. If they do nerf it, they would have to change dripping with magma now. They wouldn't be able to like
Well, that's
change
right.
what's on it, right?
They're
'Cause
going to nerf it.
so
They're going to they're going to nerf the effect.
mm-hmm.
They're going to either make it do less damage or make it go off way less often. So
Right.
instead of like 2/3 of the time now, maybe it'll be like 10% of the time. I mean, it's going to be it is going to be a nerf into the ground situation. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I think it's a valid concern. Void, the Endless Cold, is now dealing cold damage again, since the bug that prevented that from working has been fixed. I'm not entirely sure if that's the actual bow or if that's the arrow that it creates.
Well, I know the arrow does the area of effect cold burst damage. I
Mhm.
know that it still does that. So it must be talking about
Yeah, I'm not sure.
must be talking about the bow itself. I don't know for sure, but that'd be my guess.
Potions may now be used while moving.
That's
Yay.
cool. That's something that
Yeah,
alchemists can
that's
do
good.
right now, but now they're
That's a
giving
good
it to
change.
everybody.
Yeah. And hopefully that the thing that I'm really hoping about that is that it interrupts my potion drinking less. That's been, especially in like raids with, I don't know, a curse damage effect.
Yeah.
That you miss it the first time on your host. Typos have been corrected in the altars of epic and legendary rituals. Shared crafting storage no longer visibly cuts off at the max capacity if you've got a lot of max capacity. I think basically that just means that they widened the text box, right?
I'd really like to see them add a page selector, like I could manually enter the page instead of having to,
Oh, that would be awesome.
click over to my 69th page.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Instead of
right.
having to go through every single one. Yeah. No.
I mean, there's at least a search feature, but that only works if you like know what you're trying to search for, right?
If you know what you're looking for, right? Yeah, exactly.
What are the bits that come out of Vault of Night called again? I
Yeah,
don't remember.
exactly.
See, toggles now remember their state better throughout log out and log in.
Oh, thank God. That's a good change.
Yeah. Linabelle posted kind of an explanation of that, which I don't remember the exact details, but it was basically like things were checking and turning things off as part of that check to make sure there weren't conflicts or something to that effect. There was, you can go find it if you want, but it was like 3 paragraphs long of what's going on. Is this all toggles or just a few toggles? I think the idea is it will now apply to all toggles. Currently, it's some toggles stay on, some toggles don't. And I think now it's supposed to be toggles just stay on. It would be awesome. And then let's see, someone else was asking about Arthurium was saying up the stack size of filigrees in the crafting storage. Yes, please. They do stack higher in a bag than they do in the crafting storage. So that's I actually stick all my I don't remember where we got the dimensional augment bag at this point. I think it was like the +8 tome bundle thing or something like that. But I throw all my augments into that.
Sharn Ultimate Bundle.
Is that where it was? Something like that, yeah. And yes, you can search if you search for with a colon, that filters out most non filigree stuff, which can be helpful to find them in your inventory or in your bank.
Since we're talking about the Dimensional Augment bag, I'd like to insert my gripe here. When it came out, it could hold every filigree in the game, but we've been having more and more filigrees with every update, and now the Dimensional Augment bag cannot hold every filigree in the game. Can we please double the? It's the biggest bag. Can we just double the capacity of it, pretty please? I don't even have any augments in mine. I only have filigrees, and it cannot hold them all. Now they're just barfing over into my shared crafting storage.
Yeah. I'll tell you the worst thing though is you're trying to kind of sort that stuff and like pulling them all out, and I accidentally I think I was watching football or something while I was doing this and like trying to
get it over.
And I put the bag back into the crafting storage.
I did that. I killed the game when that happened. Oh my God. That will grind it down to a crawl.
It was. And I think it only had I think this was before there were even the second generation of augments, too. It was just like, oh no, I didn't. And there was no like abort button, right? It was just like, oh, all that work going back in.
Suddenly your PC becomes a Commodore 64 for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, there would, on that note with talking about bags, it'd be kind of nice if there was a way to say, don't ever dump this into this bag into the crafting storage option, right? To avoid that, but
that's a terrible mistake to make.
Oh, it hurt. I'm just sitting there watching the number of pages go up. Like, no. Anyways, let's see. Hey, let's talk about kind of more of the generic. So this is getting into the Epic Destiny overview, the overhaul overview, which the overhaul overview, the feat and level up stuff, were very similar. There's not really a lot of changes there, except in some places that we're going to talk about now. The first is the charge builder spender thing gone. That's Arkat's looking at me funny.
Charge builder spender thing. Sorry, I'm not familiar with the terminology.
Sure. So in the first iteration, this is where I said put ears over mouth and then swore, which I think may have been Voodoo's favorite moment on DDOcast in like the last 10 years, based on how much he was laughing. But anyway, so they came up with a system that was this charge builder spender model. So abilities would create charges. I think I'm doing that wrong. Builder, spender, I don't know. The basic
This
idea
right
was
now, what's happening speaks to how confusing it was, at least on paper. In application, it might have been easier. I don't know, but anyways.
I actually kind of followed it on paper. I just don't remember it well enough. I don't have it in front of me. So there were abilities that you would do that would stack charges on you, and there were other abilities that would give you some benefit while you had charges, and then there were a third set of abilities that would spend those charges to do something.
Right. Okay. I knew that. I
Yeah.
knew that. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
One of the examples was in the Shadow Dancer tree, meld when you used it would give you more dodge based on how many charges you had.
Okay.
That system is gone. We actually talked when I had the devs on. We talked about that, and it was basically kind of they didn't. I don't think they really communicated this very well outside of that interview. But their intent with that system was to allow you to build up power in the middle of a fight. In particular, like so, if you were in a boss fight, right, like you'd have this way to build up some power for the middle of that fight, as opposed to the like just going in full bore and then not having power the rest of the fight, right? So
Right.
to kind of like backload or middle load some of the power that you would have in that kind of thing.
Okay.
It was not super well received, and it also they found just through playtesting that it didn't really achieve what they were going for, and it was like there was some clunkiness to it. It didn't really do what they wanted it to do. Was kind of the big part of that, right? So they've scrapped that. Now what we have is just what they're calling epic strikes. So if you look through the trees, there are abilities that are labeled as epic strikes. These abilities share a cooldown but are not exclusive. So if you use an epic strike from one tree, it should timer your epic strike from another tree. And then these also there's upgrades to them further in the tree. So an example of that right now. So in Shiradi and Fury of the Wild, you have Adrenaline and Hunt's End. At Tier 1, you can upgrade those to plus 75% damage. Later in the trees, you can upgrade them 2 more times to get up to plus 225% damage.
Right.
Now, if you just for those, at least Hunt's End, I know someone mentioned to me that the cooldown is quite a bit shorter on that, so you can use it more frequently now.
Yeah, it's 8 seconds as opposed to 24.
Right. So instead of that should kind of alleviate some of that, like, oh, that sticker shock of, wait, I was at 400% damage, now it's down to 225. You can use it 2 or 3 times more often. So that's the epic strike. What they're doing with epic strikes. And I believe every tree had it in like the first tier, right? So it's pretty low hanging fruit, and stuff like that. The other thing they did is they brought epic moments back, and labeled them. The design philosophy for epic moments was quite loose to give each tree the freedom it needed, but a general rule is that epic moments will break one fundamental, quote, rule of DDO for its duration. The example they give is Shadow Form epic moment from Shadow Dancer. It allows you to be considered stealth for its duration regardless of your actions. As far as rules to break go, it's not like one that would be high on my list of things to break. These are powerful abilities with long cooldowns and represent a significant amount of late game power. the cooldown, I think, on all of them. That's not correct. The cooldown on most of them was 5 minutes. The uptime seemed to be 20 to 30 seconds. There's, I think the general consensus that I got from people I talked to about them is, in general, they're underwhelming currently. In particular, like a haste action boost is more power than most, if not all, of the epic moments. So I hope they kind of look at ways to adjust that a little bit. But that's the epic moment. So they're bringing epic moments back as a fundamental design part of the trees.
Well, I prefer to think of them as less than epic moments, but okay.
You're still you still are upset that everything is nothing is out of the monk tree.
You're damn right I am. Well, you know, what burns my bridges even more is they're putting it in the what do you call it tree, the Fate Singer tree. Why on earth would you put everything is nothing, an iconic monk ability, into the Fate Singer tree of all the trees? Jeez Louise.
I mean, as a counterpoint to that, if you were taking it out of the monk tree, what tree would you put it into?
Well, I wouldn't put it in. I would leave it in the monk tree. I mean,
Well, yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree.
you know, if they're going to take it out, then just take it out altogether, and you know, and just you know, just insult the monk. You don't need to add injury by putting it in this stupid Fate Singer tree.
I did hear a rumor that Quivering Palm is going to start scaling off of stun DCs.
Well, that would be nice because now the stun DC for Quivering. It used to be that you got all your tactic stuff, and then they also allowed you to add your, I think it was your Sunder, or one of the other, I think it was your Sunder DCs. You could add to that, which actually made it useful. But then way back in during the monk the monk nerf, or actually one of the several monk nerfs, they took that away, and then Quivering Palm became pretty much useless because the fort DCs of mobs were just way too high.
Right. Yeah. I think, circling back to kind of where we were, like, epic moments seem a little underwhelming in some cases. There were some that looked pretty good, so
Well, the monk epic moment, the new monk epic moment, scattering of petals, I think, looks like it could be, a good epic moment. But then you got to realize that if you're an epic defensive fighting, like pretty much all monks are, then that scattering of petals is practically useless to you. You actually have to go run up and be, within point blank range. You have to be right there next to the guy in order for it to work.
do we know if EDF affects that ability?
It does.
It does. Ooh, that's a bummer.
Well, and like all those other things are, scattering of flowers or drifting lotus, or any of those other ones that you could do at range. You have to be, you if you want to do it at range, you can't be an epic defensive fighting. So they're treating it like a spell, and so it's you either trade to get a cool ability, or you lose 25% of your hit points, and that's a hell of a decision to make, I tell you.
It is. I will say that I think making players make tough build choices is good game design, but I don't know that applies in this case.
I agree. Totally agreed.
Look, I would just kind of say generically that an epic moment should probably just ignore the EDF range problem.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have an issue if it still applied the zero range power part of it.
Sure.
But yeah, some of those abilities should not be. I wonder what EDF does to Crusade. I assume it doesn't.
Well, isn't Crusade just a?
It drops it on the ground, so maybe it doesn't. Yeah,
it should travel with you, right?
I thought it was just dropped on the ground still.
Oh yeah, like it did. Like it does on live now, right?
Yeah. Oops. I don't know what to do. Yeah. I think it just drops on the ground and it doesn't
Yeah.
really care. So. But anyways,
Well,
that's
it
kind of
drops it
the
where you are, right, when you trigger it.
right.
So it wouldn't be like you're trying to drop it, over
Mhm.
on your, your what do you call it? It's halfway across the room. So yeah, I don't think it would really apply here.
Voodoo, anything you want to jump in about the epic strikes, epic moments, any of that kind of stuff?
I am glad to see the builder spender stuff go, but honestly, like, because when I read stuff on paper, like, it just usually doesn't click. I have to do it, and
Mm-hmm.
like when they wrote out all the alchemist stuff, like, I had no idea what they were trying to say. But then when I did it, I was like, oh, this is easy. So I was I was gonna give it a chance, but now I'm not gonna be able to give it a chance. But that's fine. I'm glad they just get rid of it.
Yeah, I have no. Yeah, I don't have any. Bye bye, no problems here. The rest of that stuff, I think, was all the same as what it was before. That stuff hasn't. Most of the work that they did was in the Destiny trees, clearly. There's also the feat changes, which I'll give a little bit of space to talk about, but I didn't see anything that was different from what it was now, from what it was before.
There's the stuff in teal. There's a few things, and one of the things that some people are throwing a fit about is they're getting rid of all of those the epic feats, and this is not, or the epic skills feats, and this is not
Mm-hmm.
the one that you get auto granted at every level that adds one to every skills. It's the one that gave you +5 to a skill, so you could take like epic intimidate for +5 intimidate, for example. They're getting rid of all of those, and so some people are upset about that, and I'm like, yeah, maybe you should build that into the cores then if you're just gonna get rid of those.
Um,
So
my understanding was there was some tweaking of numbers to account for those skills not being a thing anymore in conjunction with the stat squish. I don't know that that's correct, but I think that was kind of the intent. I was gonna like, besides intimidate, what epic skill were people taking?
I don't know.
Um,
Oh, I don't know. People could take epic bluff if they wanted to. I don't know.
yeah, but one.
Bluff the guardians and in the Fey, dragon, or rather Dryad and the demigod. I don't know. I mean, I, I don't know why I don't know why you would just take them out. I mean, is it really causing problems? You have to leave them in.
My assumption is that by taking them out, they free up, like it causes less performance issues from having to hold on to that information and populate it in the list. Maybe, but I assume that a big part of what they're taking out is like they just look at the data and say that like 1% of the population is even taking any of these feats. Why are they in the game? Um, there is some love for search and spot, disable device, like trapping skills. The official line, as I understand it from SSG, is that we haven't adjusted those numbers up to a point where we think that's going to be a problem. And if it does become a problem, let us know and we'll adjust it. I have not done a lot of trapping recently, so I can't really super speak to that. But yeah. And long story short, I think if we do find that taking these skill boosts out of the game creates a problem in game, and you're really struggling to reach benchmarks, let them know, because I believe that they were pretty committed to, hey, if this doesn't work, let us know and we can tweak the numbers some more. So
Okay.
and they did do that. Like I know, Legendary Lord of Blades, his Intimidate used to be in like the like a no-fail intimidate was like 155 on Elite or Reaper. And I'm pretty sure like even after the stat squish, it's still I have no problems intimidating him.
Yeah,
Not that I've run it on Elite or Reaper since then,
sure.
but and his intimidate was really high, so it's
Was-
reachable.
Wasn't Caspiel's intimidate like a 175 or something in Project
Ooh,
Nemesis?
um,
And it was like the highest in the game at one point.
on Reaper and Elite, yes, it was
Yeah.
high. I don't know what the number is. I'm trying to think. I've run it, but I don't know if we've done it on Elite or Reaper since that change. Um,
Okay.
I just haven't paying it. I haven't been paying that close attention, but I also have not had trouble intimidating anything since the stat switch, and I don't have Epic Intimidate.
Okay.
So I
Well, maybe it's a moot point. Maybe they really did reduce the
yeah,
difficulty.
I haven't. I've seen some people have concerns about it, but I haven't actually uh seen anyone say I can't reach this now because of that intimidate loss because of the
Okay.
stat squish, something like that.
All right. Fair enough.
But it is something like we should keep an eye on, right, and let them know if that's not working. All right. So let's talk about the trees themselves.
Hang on. Can we just? There's something
Sure.
I want to just ask about. I told my wife I would ask about it.
Oh, sure.
So after reading all of Linnabelle's posts on Lamagna about the overall design
Mm-hmm.
of change philosophies and the the more generic threads instead of the each individual Epic Destiny threads, she's still not, and neither am I, are clear on the Epic Destinies as far as like the Epic Destiny feats. I mean, not the feats, but like if you get, is there going to be an Epic completionist
Yes.
still? So how
Pseudoly.
do you do that?
You get 12 past lives. It was not super clear to me in the write up if they still have to be 3 from each
Right, and
sphere.
that's what our question is. Do we have to get three? I mean, since there's no spheres anymore, right? There's no spheres. Um, you know, Although you go in that little nether area region, and you see the 4 spheres there, but as far as in game, when where we're actually playing, I mean, there are no spheres anymore. There's just individual destinies. So how do is it just totally 12 lives altogether? Or, and it could be a combination, any combination of the 12 epic destinies, or, I mean, how do you figure out whether you get the epic completionist or not?
The way that I interpret their write up is because spheres are gone and it just says every 12 epic pass lives you get a copy of Epic Completionist. So you can get it multiple times. You can actually get it 4 times now. And each time that you do that, you get 1 extra point to spend in trees. You get 1 destiny point.
Okay, so
Right.
every time you do 12 epic past lives, and it doesn't matter what the lives are, you get 1 destiny point. So that so if you do 48 past, you'll need to do 48 epic past lives. Once again, any combination of the
Well,
epic
if you
destinies
get
that are
48,
there,
you'd have them all. So
you get
there's
all
only one
4 destiny
combination at that point.
points. Well, I mean, you would get all. Again, it doesn't matter what the lives are, as long it's just you do 12 epic past lives, and then you get a destiny point up to 4 times.
That's my understanding. Is
Got it.
it's just 12 lives equals a past life, and you can do it 4 times.
Okie
So,
doke.
and actually, before we get into the specific destinies, I will also say that Bulwark of Defense is still underwhelming, and I'd still like to see it improved. I appreciate that it's in the what's it called? It's synced. It's has a synergy with the Unyielding Sentinel tree, but the feat itself is still pretty loud. It's +2 to saving throws and +4 to AC. And I just
Right.
find that super underwhelming.
Sure.
So it's disappointingly so.
What about the Scion feats, PJ? Specifically the caster Scions got a rebalance according to Voodoo.
Yeah, they did. The short version is spell critical damage is by type and not just all spells, and it's in the relevant what's it called? Feat mostly.
So
So
basically, all the Scion caster feats got a boost, except fire. Instead of being 25% to all spells, it's just 25% to fire.
right.
And so they're all just applying to, but they've all gotten stats added to them, except for the fire had something taken away from it.
Yeah, basically all of for the casting ones, they all now have +4 to DCs that are relevant to that elemental time. Usually evocation. They all have 10 spell power of their type plus 30 universal spell power and plus 25% spell critical damage of their spell type. The idea here is so that all casters don't just take fire because it had the plus 25 spell critical damage, right?
Right.
So that's kind of what they're going there for.
What about the Earth Scion? Do they get is it +4 to their conjuration
Yep.
DCs? Okay.
So air, fire, water are evocation. Water gained the evocation DCs and the +2 to all other spells. So they're all +4 to yours and then +2 to everything else.
Right.
Okay. It's not new for fire. The evocation is not new for fire. It's new for water. So air, fire, and water are +4 evocation, +2 to other spells, +10 to their spell power, +30 universal, +25% to their spell critical damage, and then they all add 2d20 damage for weapons that scales with spell power. If it's new for fire, it's not listed as new. That's why I'm saying it's not new. That may be the case. They all also have a unique ability. So air is +4 dodge, +4 dodge cap. Fire is +10 PRR and MRR. Water is +20 MRR and +200 spell points. So that's how those all work. Earth is +4 to conjuration and transmutation spells, +2 to others, +20 PRR, +10 to acid and poison spell power, 30 universal spell power, and 25% acid and poison spell critical damage. So this is my alchemist is going to be acid spec after this comes out instead of fire spec. Since their damage spells are conjuration, not evocation. So that's a kind of a huge win there. Yeah, Feywild, Shadowfell, and Mechanus all got 25% critical damage with stuff that's related there. Feywild is Sonic and Force. Shadowfell is negative. They took poison out of there and put it in Earth. And then the Mechanus is Repair and Rust. And Celestia now also has +4 DCs to evocation spells and +2 to other spells, and also does 25% positive light and alignment spell critical damage. So that got pretty hot for Divines.
In addition to the 140 spell hit points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that stuff's all new. That's like they just got DCs and critical damage, so it still does yeah, their bonus thing is plus 150 hit points and plus 4 to will saves. So they all of those trees really kind of follow the same model of here's your spell type, you get 10 more spell power with that and 30 to everything. You get critical damage to your spell type. You get DCs related to that, and then you get something else. Except for Mechanics, which doesn't get any DC spells, any DCs. Which is kind of weird to me, but also I'm not really sure a lot of people are taking Mechanics. I'm not. If you have a build that relies on taking Sign of Mechanics, feel free to send it to me at DDOCast@gmail.com just so I can see a build that's actually using this feat. I'm not convinced that it's actually anything. It's that good of a feat. So, all right. So we'll give a little bit of space for the trees. We didn't really talk about this beforehand on how you guys want to do it. We're not gonna go line by line and stuff. But maybe we'll just say like what trees stand out to you and what's in them. Any trees you're super excited about?
Divine Crusader. That's the tree that I'm most looking forward to trying to to trying out.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the idea that the tree is really for vanguards.
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite tunes was my Paladin Vanguard that I played on Kasplat last year or the year before, and but I just haven't really seriously played him since because he got kind of squishy, because the stat squish and so forth. And now that it looks like there's going to be some really nice things added to Divine Crusader, and it's going to help the shield out quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to that. The only caveat or the only caution that I have for Divine Crusader is the epic moment, where you're supposedly you hop on a horse and you can charge ahead and you steer. Honestly, that sounds way too gimmicky for me. I think Epic Soul in our guild, PJ, remarked in the forums that maybe just give like a 4 Cormier type of a buff, and that it's on timer for like maybe he said a minute, but I think 30 seconds of like a morale boost to damage that's equal to your charisma modifier for 30 seconds would be awesome as an epic moment. And of course with the 5-minute cooldown, so that would be I think a lot easier to implement, and it would also be very thematic, especially for a Divine Crusader. So just do that. Don't let's not get too cute and come up with something that never works. Just do something that that works, that would be epic, and and that fits the destiny perfectly, and that would be it. And so so Divine Crusader for me is the one that I'm most looking forward to working on and trying out.
I kind of like the idea of the mount thing. I thought that was kind of interesting. Someone even posted on the video for this that maybe it's a window, a gateway into Cavalier as like a prestige class or something. Which probably you're probably right. It probably would make more sense to do something more like that than stick it in this. The bigger thing for me on it was just like this ability only lasts 4 seconds, and then you have like a 20-second buff. Like every 5 minutes for 4 seconds, really? That's again, like go back to the other conversation. Like epic moments don't like they feel epic for like this hot second, but like a 4-second buff is.
They're literally taking epic moment to literally. I mean,
moment.
4 seconds is a moment in DDO.
Yeah, I will say with Divine Crusader though that the synergy that it's doing with Smite is really interesting and fun.
Mm-hmm.
I like what they're doing that. But yes, Humble. It's 4 seconds of be on a horse and run things over, and then 20 seconds of immune to crowd control. And that's the moment. So it's Voodoo, anything really kind of pop out to you?
Well, I'm honestly didn't get a chance to dig into all of them, and even the ones that I did, not as much as I would have liked to. But one thing that really sticks out to me is I really love, and I can't remember the name, but the Captain America shield from Unyielding Sentinel. So you do this like spin move, which looks amazing, and you throw a spiritual shield at a target, and what it does is it resets their hate and makes them aggro on you. And my understanding is so not only is that a ranged aggro grabber, which is going to be amazing.
Yep.
You're tanking Sully. He chained you. He poured it away. You throw your spiritual shield at him. He comes right back to you. And as far as I can tell, and I haven't tested this, but the way that it works, from my understanding of it, is that you're even going to be able to use it on mobs that you can't intimidate. So, like a construct or a plant creature. So that is a really cool addition. I would love to even see some sort of like splash or AoE effect to it, but
It gets that,
very
actually.
cool. Does it?
Yeah, you can
Really like
upgrade
that.
it to that. Let
I
me
love it.
pop it up. Yeah, Sentinel was, as someone who has 3 tanks, like I was really looking forward to seeing this tree. And that one is definitely one that caught my eye. Yeah, so tier 4, throw the boom. Knight's challenge now affects the small area around the target and applies stun DCs. Oh wait, that might not be what I was looking for. Is that the right thing? Knight's challenge? Yeah, it is. I thought there was something. Well, it affects more things, right? It affects a small area, so I took that to mean that it's gonna hit multiple things, and also can apply a stun. Which I'm like,
Can it apply the stun to the area?
yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how much the stun's gonna like super go for it. Yeah, this tree I'm actually kind of pretty excited about. Now it does lose. You do lose the clicky that gives you 10,000 temporary hit points.
Right.
Which
I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, which I know for, especially like people who like to push kind of raid difficulty and stuff, like that and meld are like your oh shit buttons as a tank.
That's your last line of defense right there.
Right. And they're really kind of taking the oh shitness buttons out of out of our repertoire, which is a bummer. Having said that, some things that I really like out of this tree are there's only one of the attack that gives you extra hate, and it's low. It's the lowest tier, right? Like it's right out of the get go. That's your epic strike. I don't super understand why this tree doesn't really give you an option to increase your epic strike. Like I feel like the thing that's missing in here, as designed, is hey, how come there's not a thing in here that increases my my epic strike to do even more threat or do something related to like tankiness, right? So that's kind of neat. Divine energy resistance is in here. Like that's something that we actually have currently in the game, but this version costs 15 spell points when you get it down. I think that's right. It's way cheaper. Like I think the lowest you get it right now is 75 spell points. This is like dirt cheap spell points.
Right. Is this one area of effect too?
Yeah, as far as I know. All allies in the standard area of effect centered on the caster.
There you go. Sure.
So and you can extend it for free. So that's pretty awesome. It does have Intimidate in the tree now. Like that used to be in Draconic Incarnation. The mantle gives you so the current tree has the elemental absorption, but only when you're blocking. The mantle now gives it to you the whole time and applies to alignment, not just elemental.
Right.
And
Nice.
also force. So that's sweet. And going back to you were talking about the Knight's Challenge, the throwing the shield. I like that it's they're going to attack you for 8 seconds, which is much more than Intimidate gets you. I think
if it's an intimidatable mob, that's going to bring them over to you more than likely, and then you can intimidate them and establish proper aggro.
Even the 8 seconds though, like even if you're like you might be fighting with the melee or the DPS to keep the aggro, like this will lock it down for 8 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, oh, and by the way, Reborn in Light is the epic moment in this tree. So
it's pretty cool. That is pretty cool that you can self-raise now in the Sentinel tree.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, and when you come back now, it also grants you for 30 seconds 50% incorporality. So,
cool.
It also gives you plus 100 melee power, positive, and light spell power. I'm not super sure how useful that part of it's going to be. Oh, and we haven't even talked about one of my favorite things about here, is that lay on hands. You can upgrade your lay on hands to 1, key off your Constitution modifier instead of your Charisma modifier, and have it be an area of effect.
Pretty wild.
It's nice. That extra light spell power is nice because Knight of the Chalice, you can do a lot of light damage out of that. So, and I think all those things scale off light spell power. So it'll be easier to keep the aggro, even beyond those 8 seconds.
Yeah.
I love to play tanks, but I don't play traditional tanks. I love to play hybrid caster tanks, so a little bit different. And I would really like to see more support for that built into the tree in the form of, instead of all this extra hate generation just being off of melee attacks, can we please have it off of other attacks too? There's nothing special about hate from a blade or a piece of steel. Like if I throw a fireball in a monster's face, like that's going to piss him off. So like commanding presence is really great. That affects all, expels melee attacks, range attacks. That's great. But pretty much the rest of it in the tree is like just for melee attacks. So let's have other options in there to say like your spells too, not just melee attacks, but your spells. And I would love to see like the mantle. If that mantle is active, can it double the effect of commanding presence? Can it double the hate that you generate from commanding presence? That would be wonderful.
I mean, I would even say the direction I would go would be like the Celestial Mandate, the Epic Strike that gives you, it's 6W and adds 3,000 hate, and slows their movement, which is kind of neat. I kind of would like to see, like, there's nothing in this tree that upgrades your Epic Strike, which is a departure from the other trees. Like, they all have something that increases it. I'm not exact. I mean, this tree is full, and like, there's not a lot of places where I want to like pull something out of this tree. Like, I don't know where to stick it because I like a lot of the stuff that's in here, and I don't want to just like pull it out somewhere, right? So I'm not sure where you could stick an upgrade into that, but that was kind of something that I noticed that was missing here. Yeah. But that I'm pretty stoked about this tree. I think it's going to be a fun tree to have. Maybe the thing that I'm kind of down on in the tree is that the hit point boost is locked in tier 5, so my bard is going to be very sad that he's not going to get the hit point boost. Probably. I don't know, maybe
Go ahead.
Maybe I'll still throw him in here because he's kind of more of a Healy bard than anything else. But we'll have to see how well that works. But
they have the hit point boost knocked it from 20% to 10%, but they did sort of add another 5%, but it's another tier 5.
It's 20% at rank 3 if you have your mantle activated.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
So it's 10%, and then if you take the third rank, it's 20% if your mantle is activated.
Okay.
So the 20%. So there is the you're talking about the 5% quality hit points. There's in there.
Yeah. See, I thought it was just 10%. I didn't realize it was a 3 ranker. So I thought it was just 10% and then 5% over here. And, an additional to sort of kind of make up for that. But okay.
Yeah. There is the 5% quality hit points was kind of interesting. I had a conversation with someone who was like, oh, but it's quality and the quality is not that hard to get. I'm like, well, sure, but you can, if you don't have quality, you can get it this way, or you can save a feat, because otherwise it gives you the deific warding feat, and if you already have that, you get 5% quality hit points. So I will probably just use that as a way to get deific warding for free and not worry about the quality hit points because I already have them. But it saves a feat slot, which is kind of nice. So
sure.
Okay, so let's talk about bonus days. 25% crafting reward boost through September 26th. Store news, Finders Keepers, 20% off of Astral Shards, Sentient, and Jeweler's Toolkits. Loot boosts through September. It's
supposed to be
30th.
challenge reward boost, not crafting reward boost.
That sounds possible. I got it off of the Chronicle.
Challenge boost, though, there usually has their own separate weekend.
Right, it would be either crafting or challenge.
I'm gonna look that up because we don't want to give bad information here. But go ahead.
I'm pulling it from the Chronicle, so I was given bad information. Wishes of Inheritance are back through September 30th, and you can get a free Bell of Opening. The coupon code is ring. A good.
Ooh, nice. Yeah. That's a good one.
That's a good one. All right, community news. The 441st Chronicle. So this is 2 weeks ago. The comment: why doesn't everyone have bicycles? Do you need bicycles if you have magic and can? You have horses.
Well, the reason is because all of our raw ingredients are used to make Warforged. I mean, come on.
Instead of
bicycles, Warforged, we could have bicycles.
Well, see, that's the thing.
Warforged bicycles.
I don't think the Kenneth. Well, I had said, and I responded that I didn't think the Kenneth artificers were all that smart. But you've got a point, though. If you have Warforged, they should be able to make bikes.
I mean, Warforged tanks, like an actual tank with a turret. Like, come on, like they have juggernauts, and right, like
they have juggernauts. Yeah.
Fansite news. We got a shout out for reviewing Saltmarsh. DDO players survives Gen Con. I think he was going to Gen Con. I don't think he was actually there yet. DDO streams, your first stop to find DDO on Twitch. Brighter days ahead. Doug Glendower and DDO PL got shoutouts. Twitch, Samus Grobo, Deathy TV, Skull Priest 1210 got shoutouts, and on YouTube, Bubonic Craig. I like that. That's clever.
That's good.
I like Bubonic Craig. Strim Tom and Foji Video got shoutouts there. The 442nd shot, so this week's Chronicle. They had a list of, 15, 20 content creators. I actually deleted it from my show notes because it was too big for the show notes. And the formatting was weird. But so if you want to go to that Chronicle, you can get a whole bunch of information on, or you can see a bunch of people talking about it. DDO Players News got a shout out. They reached their 300th episode this week, so congratulations, guys.
Yeah.
Chronicle comment: how good do you think your characters are at math? Which character?
I just said as good as they need to be. And if you know how to count your gold pieces and your platinum pieces, I think that's good enough.
Yeah, right.
How many cups of coffee they've had?
Yeah. What's the barbarian just wants more. It's like relational, right? Like the math
Yeah.
is just more or less.
This pile bigger than this other pile.
Yeah, exactly. This axe do more than other axe.
Right.
See, Dido stream first stop to find Dido on Twitch. Bard Life, Brock and Friends, and D&D Night got shoutouts this week. On Twitch, Rain, Brackart, and Semeku Gregorian got shoutouts. And on YouTube, Mega Bubfish, Sofa Plays, and DW Punisher got shoutouts. This is the final weekend to run Crystal Cove, so you can run that through September 26th. And on the Mania, Cordovan was talking about Epic Destinies. You can check that out. D&D Night, Dido stream Sunday 7 p.m. Eastern, and Dido Kasplat is back on Tuesdays, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, most days, most weeks. How much time? We're gonna punt the lightning post to another week because we're kind of long in the tooth this week. But there was a question in the chat that we'll talk about really quick. We'll do that for our lightning post. Tyg on the first asks, can we talk about the lack of hand wraps to make Shifter viable to give incentive to even play that racial? We can. Is the answer to that question. I don't see that as actually an issue with making that viable. Arkat, did you have a different experience?
No, I actually thought it was a great opportunity. My shifter, barbarian shifter hand wrap user, uses the hand wraps from the Hound, and also the Fang of ZZ. So I got that set bonus, and I'm surrounded by bees and stuff, and and I do a lot of acid damage. And I thought that, I think it's perfectly fine. I mean, duality is still out there if you don't like, the hand wraps from the Hound. I mean, I think there's several viable hand wraps to use for a shifter out there.
I understand the sentiment that are shifters using hand wraps viable. I don't think the availability of hand wraps is the issue there. That's kind of my take on that.
Then maybe I misunderstood. What was the person?
Well, what they're asking is, can we talk about the lack of hand wraps to make shifter viable?
Oh, well, and my
to
point
even
is
play
there's
that racial.
plenty of them.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's a viable question of, is a shifter hand wrap build viable? But I don't think
I see what
the
you're
reason
saying,
why that would be a question would be the availability of hand wraps. There's great
Right.
hand wraps in the game, and they're I think the named ones are good. I don't think they're like fundamentally worse than other items. I could see maybe a little bit of a question of that with relation to, hey, does hand wraps kind of have a tendency to have like monkey type abilities on them? Like if they're key, because duality I think keys off of your stance, right? So you wouldn't get that. But that's not all the hand wraps.
Right.
There are other options with hand wraps. Like the one from Legendary Hound of Zoriat, I don't think has anything that's monk related. So
the one from Too Hot to Handle, the hand wraps from Too Hot to Handle, they're not particularly monk centered, I don't think.
yeah,
I mean, you have to upgrade them, but but so what? There's lots of things you have to upgrade.
You also have to run Too Hot to Handle and get them out of Too Hot to Handle, which is a barrier enough for a lot of people.
Well,
anything for Too Hot to Handle, 99% of the player base doesn't have access to it.
Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah.
I guess the monk. Let me back up just a second, Patrick. Sorry to interrupt, but the hand wraps from the Hound are not actually from the Hound. They're from VOD.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah. So sorry, I didn't mean to throw some misinformation out there, but there's some decent hand wraps for shifters in VOD, and a lot of people run VOD, so you can get those.
Now, I don't know. I don't think that the barbarian class works well enough with hand wraps to make that as viable as I think people wanted it to be. And the racial tree doesn't make that gap up. That's where I see the disconnect of why they're not viable, personally. So. All right, we're going to close out this show. So thanks for joining us. Hey, thanks to Arkat and Voodoo for hanging in there. It was kind of a longer run. We'll definitely be splitting this up into two. So if you didn't listen to this live, there will be another half to this conversation that I will splice out somewhere in there. So if you feel like you got half of a conversation from the published show, you did. Come back next week. Yeah, so thanks, Arkat. Voodoo, plug your stuff, man.
Hey, you can find me over on Twitch. Well, on my channel, Vooduspyce, live streaming nearly every day. I do a morning show from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. weekdays. You can also find me on YouTube with over 1,000 DDO videos, quest walkthroughs, raid guides, crafting tutorials, and so much more. And I'll be streaming immediately after the show today on my channel.
Probably after a bathroom break. And a coffee refill. How's that coffee mug doing? You out yet?
Yeah, I refilled it.
Okay. Well, thanks to all the folks for helping out with DDOcast and Staying Some Games, Wizards of the Coast, and to Cyber for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website at DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also hit us up at ddocast.com for our show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff, including various adventures in DDO, D&D Tabletop, and even some other games. If you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, leave a comment or email us at ddocast@gmail.com. And a special shout out to the chat today, which was really hopping around. It was great to see, and throwing out some great stuff and having some fun conversation. So may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate. Have fun, and don't forget to gather for boss.